what we have just picked up. So this is the IONIQ 5 that we'll have for the next week. So thank you Hyundai Australia for this press vehicle. Would love to get to know this car, and look, if you guys got any questions about this, let me know. So we've just picked this up. It's just dropped from 100 down to 99. We've got the heater on at 100% or 99, 416 kilometers. And this car has 5,513 kilometers on the odometer. This is the newest Hyundai IONIQ 5. So this is the IONIQ 5 Epiq, which is essentially the top spec for your normal IONIQ 5s. So obviously below the IONIQ 5N, this is the IONIQ 5 dual motor, all-wheel drive, and essentially it's got about 239 kilowatts worth of power. I'll take you guys through the exterior, we'll then go through to the interior, we'll go for a spin, and then I'll let you guys know what I think about it. Essentially key competitors, EV6, Kia EV6, you've got the Genesis GV60 and the Tesla Model Y. So yeah, let's take you guys for a spin around in terms of the exterior, and let me know what you guys think. In terms of colour, this one here is the Gravity Gold Matte. So it's overcast today with a bit of rain, so I'm not too sure if you guys can see it, but this one also is equipped with the external digital side mirrors. Not something that I'm too interested in, but I'll cover off in the content anyway. But I love the shape of this car, so let me know what you guys think. And yeah, let's go for a walk around. Alright, so let's look at what's new in the 2024 IONIQ 5. So all of them now get standard heat pump, which is new battery heating system, battery conditioning as standard for greater efficiency and driving range. The Dynamic and the Epiq, which is the mid-spec and the top spec, they now also get a choice of rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. This one here, which is top spec Epiq, has 77.4 kilowatt hour battery, whereas the base spec has 58 kilowatt hours. We've got digital side mirrors as an option in this one. There is no digital center mirror though. In terms of power, so the IONIQ 5, the base model one, has 125 kilowatt rear motor, and the extended range has 168 kilowatts. When you jump into the all-wheel drive, you've actually only got 74 kilowatts at the front, and then you've also got 165 at the back. So it's a total of 239 kilowatts of power. Now this one here with 239 kilowatts, the estimated range is 454. In terms of this spec, so this is an expensive car. This is, and this is drive away in New South Wales, so it'd be somewhere in that similar amount in other states as well, in Australia. $98,000 drive away in this exact spec. Now for comparison, so EV6, I did some research, did some calculations online. So Kia EV6 GT line, just under $95,000. The Genesis GV60 is about $115,000. So those are the Korean rival siblings, which essentially are on the same platform anyway. But from a price perspective, that's what we're talking about, and it's a lot of money. So what do you guys think? Shall we have a look at the inside? Let's go. All right, before we jump into the car, this is essentially the Hyundai key. So lock, unlock, boot, charge port, then to go back and forth on the car, hold button, and that is the back of the key. That's all you get. Let's have a look at the remote driving back forth function ago. So we'll unlock the car, we'll lock the car, then we hold down the hold button. Okay, so the car started up. Let's move it forward. So holding down this P button forward over here. So let's hold that down. That's pretty cool. And it doesn't move too fast, so that's actually really good to move out of tight spaces so you can get everyone in. And let's go back. So once you let go, that obviously that stops, and then let's go backwards. So just hold it down. And again, it doesn't go too fast, so it's pretty cool. And then lights go dim, it goes off, and yeah, hold the hold button, and the car goes off. So let's have a look at the inside of the car. So the one thing that's cool is when you keep your keys in your pocket and you walk up to the car, it actually unlocks and it greets you. So that's that. And then this also opens up over here as well. So let's go in. So here is the overview of the interior. So before we get in, let's have a look at everything. So here's the side. So this is plastic that looks like fake stone. Cup holder there, Bose sound system. You've got 2 car seat settings. You've got folding your mirrors. You've got a Bose sound system. Coming up over here, you've got folding mirrors, all your usual adjustments, lock, unlock, windows, child lock. You've got the door handle here. You've got the digital side mirrors. And this here, even though it blends in down here, that's actually empty space as a grab handle for you to close your door. And we've got a bit of red stitching over here. So that's this side, and let's look at the rest of it inside here. So here are the seats. You'll see that they've got holes in them, perforations. So what that means is heated and cooled on the front. It's only heated at the back. The headrests do look a bit odd of a shape with this grey colour here in the middle, but I guess two-tone is also quite nice. But it is different headrest to the back as well. You've got some easy entry exit controls over here. And yeah, the seat looks pretty wide, so it is quite a comfortable seat. And this one being the top spec, being the Epiq, you do also have 0 gravity, which means you can push that one back and that one reclines out, or you could just have the reclining function over here, which is just this one over here. So if you're waiting and you just wanted to put that out, then you can absolutely use that. So I'll pull that up so you guys can see. Alright, so the rest of the interior. So let's actually get in the car. So what can you see? So you've got down over here first, you've got auto hold, the park brake. You've got then the opening the boot. That looks like traction control. Then you've got to control the headlights. Then again, similar to the EV9, you've got the stalk over here to control from a transmission side of things. And then you've got your usual indicators, headlight settings over here. And then over this side on the left, you've got the windscreen wiper settings. And then if I pull further back, you can see from steering wheel side, regen functions where the paddle shifts are. Then drive mode, that over here. And then you've got airbag horn, as you see it. That's supposedly magnetic, not strong enough to hold a phone though. And then you've got your dual big 12-inch displays. So that's that. Let's do a pan around and I'll talk you through some other stuff within the car. Alright, so starting over here on the right, go across the dash. And we'll come down over here. So, down the bottom, one USB-A port down over there. I could fit a big water bottle down there, which is almost 1 litre. You've got your 12-volt socket there with 180 watts. If we come further back up here, 2 normal cup holders over here, and then further down over here, you've got 2 additional USB-A ports, and then wireless phone charging down here. Over here, I've just got a cloth, but basically you can put takeaway, put a tissue box, whatever you want. Coming back up over here, glove box, not too deep, but there's a non-stick mat over here, which is great, removable and washable. So close that, and then you can pull this up, which then gives you all that open space. And having this open space over here also means that realistically, if you're parked in a really tight spot and you need to get across to that side to exit the car, you'll be able to, because there's nothing else here that gets in the way. So that's actually pretty good. Now I've just started the car, just so you guys can see what you essentially see as the driver. So you've got the range over there, you've got just general information on your car in the middle, along with the speed limit recognition, battery percentage on the bottom left, around also with the level of regen for the car, seat belts, temperature, and current electricity consumption. And this car has done about 5,500 kilometers. There is also a heads-up display. I think you can only vaguely see it somewhere about there, but there is one. And then here are the side mirrors, digital side mirrors, and then same with the other side. So yeah, that's basically what you see mainly on the screen. You've got air conditioning controls over here. So that's auto function, climate and warmer. So warmer is actually a new term. Warmer, when you click that, actually takes you through to the seat menu. So you've got your heated cooling as you go up, down, whatever levels you want. And then you've also got steering wheel heating. There is only one setting though for steering wheel heating. So for the ones that get warm pretty quick, you probably may potentially feel your hands burning and you won't have it for too long. So that's that one. And then when you go climate control down over here, that takes you through to different settings for the car. So all of the other aircon settings, and then you can go into the rear warmer, which gives you the rear seat functions, but no physical buttons at all. There's nothing to do with your cooling seats, heated seats over here, even though you've got some general controls, but it's mainly through up on the screen over there. There is also no home button here to get to any of the menus. You've only got parking sensors, the actual cameras itself, which, as I've said in previous videos, the cameras are fantastic. So this is the reverse with the over the top or 360 display. You can also click that. You can go look at the back. You can just look at that, which is for the wheels, so you don't gutter rash. You've also got this one here to look around the car. And obviously this is just in reverse. If I put my foot on the brakes and then I put it into D, this is the front. You've also got this one where I'll turn the wheels and you guys can see it turning. And then you can also see that there, the lines. And yeah, just different views from the front. So let's put it back in park. And so that covers pretty much the whole front of the car. The one thing we also didn't do yet, sorry, was the glove box. So glove box over here, so pull that, oh, and it doesn't go down, so it opens out like a fridge. So it looks really deep. You could almost put groceries in there, just like a fridge. Good job, Hyundai. That's amazing. And yeah, so there's nothing here blocking down here. So as I said, if you're in a tight spot, you can definitely go through. But that's essentially everything to do with the front. Right, let's get in the back. Actually, I better show you guys the back first. So there is the back. Wow, look at all that space. It's literally like a couch. The first thing that actually got my attention was these ones here. So this one, I presume, folds down the front seats. Yep, that's right. So let's pull that one back. So that's by default to sit upright, and it looks like you can get some form of adjustments over here too. So that's great. So it's on rails, but it is actually electronic rails. So there's no pull lever to then move forward or backwards. It is actually all electronically controlled. So depending on how much stuff you need to put in the boot, that looks like a very good feature to have. All electronic, which means you've got much more movement and much more control over the distance. All right, let's move the seat back. All right, so let's get in. Now remember, the front, I've left a fair bit of space. So I still have quite a lot of space over here, as you guys can see. Plenty of room. And this is having the seat pushed back as well. So 2 USB-A ports down there. There's a little storage area here. No transmission tunnel, which is fantastic. Again, here's all the interior. It's quite nice with this two-tone. Also, let's have a look at the middle. So 2 cup holder, doesn't look like there is a pass through or a push through at all, but you can push the seats down. And then of course ISOFIX points over there, and then on this side over here as well. How do I look in the back? I will honestly admit I am so comfortable here, and in terms of space, Yeah, what can I say? It definitely feels like you've got more space in this than in the Model Y, and that's probably because of the shape. The Model Y is more like a sportback, how it kind of curves down. This is more like a hatchback, so it does have a lot of space. Also glass roof, which we'll go through in a moment. I forgot to do that. And then in terms of aircon vents, I'll flip the camera around. So aircon vents are over here, just by the door pillar. As I said, in the back you've got the heated seats, so 2 settings. That's for your windows. You've also got blinds in this top spec model. So hopefully that knocks out some of the UV or some of the heat during the hotter periods in Australia. And then of course, map lights, LED, fantastic. All right, 2 other things we forgot to go through on the exterior. So these ones here, Michelin Pilot Sport EV Edition. These ones here, the rear wheels are 255/45 R20. So absolutely huge wheels. And the front here, exactly the same as well. So it is a square set, 255/45 R20. Be very keen to see how it drives on these 20-inch wheels, considering it's just a normal everyday car that should be quite comfortable. And let's also have a look at the charge port. So let's push that down. There you go. Your normal Type 2 socket, and then DC, so AC and then DC. And then just push that to close. And it's got external V2L2, which is fantastic. All right, let's take a look at the boot. So button is somewhere near where the camera is, just on the right, right here. And there you go. So here is the boot. Quite spacious. It is more like a hatchback shape, so you can definitely always fit a heap of stuff in there. You've got this removable cover, and you do need to pull it and line it up over here, and also on the other side. And that's the cover, so you can still put stuff inside. Would have been nice, considering you're paying almost $100,000, to have this somehow link to the opening of the boot, so that when you do open it, that kind of retracts. But I don't think there is any way of doing that. But anyways, so that's about all the space that you have. You can see a normal size umbrella over there. There's a small backpack over there and a camera tripod. So yeah, that's essentially it. Over here on the right, you've got your manual release for the charge cable. You've also got over here 12 volt, and you've got some tie down points over here and inside on each corner. Then underneath here, you've got a luggage net, and then you've got a tyre mobility kit. But that is essentially everything onto the boot. So let's have a look at the frunk. So the frunk is down here, like traditional cars. So once that's done, there's a little latch inside here that you've got to push across to the left and then lift. And I'll pan the camera back or step back. That's essentially everything you've got. Pardon the noise, or excuse the noise if you can hear that. There's a helicopter in the background. So EV here, open that up. There's your charging cable. So the top over here, that'd be your V2L connector. This is the AC charger to charge the car. So that's pretty much all of the space you have. As you can see, there's not much more you can fit. You can't even fit another Type 2 to Type 2 cable here. So yeah, there you have it. One thing I forgot to mention is the sunroof, or the moonroof, glass roof, whatever you want to call it, for this car. So as you know, for Tesla, it's just glass. There's no cover or anything at all. This one here, there is a sunshade that's actually built in, and it's actually quite thick. So there is a button up over here, right there. So if I pull that back, pull that forward, look at that. It's electric and automated, and it's pretty thick. Even though it's fabric, it's pretty thick. So let's open that. Alright guys, that's all the exterior and interior shots and videos of the IONIQ 5 Epiq. Let's go for a drive. So absolutely horrible rainy weather, as you guys can see. So our setup at the moment, so we've got a camera here on the top left of the windscreen facing me. We also have another one just above my head, which is GoPro. So intent is so you guys can see and understand what it's like to drive a Hyundai IONIQ 5. Now we are currently also in eco mode in iPedal, which is one pedal driving, so it should come to a full stop by itself, and it's extremely slow. That's all I can say. Eco mode is the smoothest mode that you could drive on, where you let go and it just slowly, gradually comes to a stop. But acceleration wise is also really, really slow. So if you guys are new to the world of EV and you want to try one pedal driving, this is probably the one for you. There is no difference in terms of steering feel. It's very, very light, and there is no difference from a suspension side of things too. Jumping into normal mode, it just increases the sensitivity. Again, there is no difference in feel for suspension, steering, any of that. And same thing switching it into sports mode. So there's a drive mode button here on the steering wheel. It just increases the sensitivity. That's really it. So if you do a lot of, I guess, acceleration and letting go, as in you like to control the throttle, just know that on the sport setting, it is very, very sensitive. Like even half a centimeter of push, you're already accelerating. So you probably want to just jump in normal mode, and that's probably it. Brakes are very, very sensitive, so if that's something you guys like, as soon as you step on it, it bites. So hitting a 70 zone. Yeah, so we're in normal mode. Car is dead set quiet, obviously, besides the rain. Steering's on the lighter end. I would probably put it between or similar to the normal mode in a Tesla, or even towards the comfort side. Definitely not towards the sport side. It's not stiff at all. It does feel a little bit bouncy in terms of the suspension. It's not stiff, so if you guys are after a comfortable ride, this is something you could absolutely consider. It's not stiff at all. I've gone through a couple of bumps. It just eats it. For a car with 20-inch wheels, I think they've done a pretty good job. So let's start talking about some of the other stuff for this car. So seat-wise, in terms of how I feel, look, it is very comfortable. I'm not going to lie. I like how they've got pretty wide and long seats, and by long I mean the width coming out. So this comes just below my knees. I'm not the tallest person, but it does come towards my knees, so it does feel supported in that aspect. In terms of the arches where the seats come up, again, they've done pretty well. It doesn't hurt, even though I'm kind of leaning on it a little bit. And the bolsters don't stick up out at all. So really, sort of feels like you're in a couch. That's probably the way I'd explain it. Sort of like a couch. But am I comfortable? Yeah, absolutely I am. Yep. So what else do we want to talk about? So let's talk about these mirrors. I'll do an overlay because it was raining and I actually had one issue before, but it's not showing now. So I'll play that first. One thing I find odd about the side mirrors is that when it's raining and water actually gets onto the lens over there, it actually looks a bit hazy, and it's the same thing that you've seen over this side here on the left. It looks a bit hazy over there, and I'll show you guys if we pull this window down so you can see up close over here. There's a bit of rain over there, and just in case you couldn't, right there in the middle. And what that means for you is that it seems a bit foggy over here. And so now when you're back, it is fully pouring, guys, and for whatever reason, you know, the mirrors seem to be doing somewhat okay. They're quite clear. We'll have to see how these ones perform at night compared to the EV9. And yeah, what can I say? I don't think I'm still a fan of them yet. And I say yet because, you know, you never know. But right now, am I a fan of them? No, I'm not. I like the traditional mirrors mainly because realistically, you know, when you're parking and things like that, you like to do the little head bubble and you can just see more. And when you're reversing for these ones, you need to actually flick the switch on the left and the right. So on the right side here where the mirror controls are, you need to actually flick it to the left or to the right for the camera to zoom out. So that's similar to when you're reversing in a traditional car where the mirrors can dip down. This is their version of it, but it just zooms the camera out. So I'm like, if you can do that, why would you not just have a function to zoom out normally anyway? So yeah, that's essentially that side of things. Now, back to the driving feel. So we've gone through normal settings, we've gone through sport mode settings, we've gone through eco. Realistically, the verdict is that it's pretty much just all the sensitivity feel on the pedal. There is nothing else. It doesn't harden or stiffen up the chassis. It doesn't make the steering any tighter or anything like that. That's all the same. It's just sensitivity. How it handles road bumps though, because some of these roads here are actually quite bumpy out in the hills. Look, I think it does really, really well. For 20-inch wheels, it's quite comfortable. I've gone through a couple of bumps. It didn't hurt at all, and it just eats it for breakfast. So yeah, it is quite comfortable in that regard. All right, let's talk ergonomics. So steering wheel, absolutely fantastic. Good thickness, feels good, doesn't feel too thin. No complaints there. Horn is the horn, what can I say? And the settings over here on both sides are typical to what Kia and Hyundai have, which also is in, I think, majority of the cars. So there's no issues or complaints there. I like the drive mode over here. That's pretty cool. I mean, it's not a sports car, but you know, it does the job. Reminds me actually of what Audi have done and what some of the high-end supercars have done. You know, you've got a button here to set different modes. So yeah, race car inspiration, I guess. Let's talk the rest of it. So ergonomics and everything. So this one here, I think it's only in the top spec, augmented heads-up reality display, augmented reality heads-up display, sorry. Does it work well? Yes, it does. It doesn't, it's not, and maybe it's a firmware update, but it's not the same as the latest version, similar to what I had in one of the Kia EV6s or the EV9s. This one in particular, when you connect to Apple CarPlay, I would have expected, similar to the other ones I drove, that if I use Apple Maps, it would show up here, but it doesn't. And Google Maps doesn't show either, only when you use the car GPS. So maybe that's in an update coming sometime soon in the future, but it's not included in this update here at all. But either way, heads up display, fantastic. Ergonomics for this, for the touchscreen over here, I think it's a bit far based on my driving position. I can't touch that yet. I'd have to lean forward a little bit to touch it. Not the end of the world. I can still reach over here, but I would probably say it might be a little bit distracting trying to reach forward for that. With this one, the digital side mirrors, that's the special pack that you can get. I believe now you potentially also do get the digital center mirror, which is this one up here, but this model doesn't have that. So that's pretty good. I've used it in the Kia Sorento before. It's absolutely great because it allows you to see better at night. All right, we are about to give a 3-point turn or a U-turn a go. So don't know which one it'll be. Now remember, all-wheel drive cars usually have a smaller turning circle, so potentially we may have to do a 3-point turn as part of this. Basically, you guys may have seen this before, in this area before, if you guys are a subscriber of our channel. This is pretty much 4 lanes worth of I guess, road. So technically I'm parked over here, there could be a car driving here on my right, and then there could be a car parked on the other side, and then there could be cars driving up that way. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this to full lock, and then we're just going to drive forward, and we're going to see if we can do a full U-turn without needing to do a 3-point turn. So let's go. So put it into drive, indicate right, check your cameras. Let's turn all of this. All right, let's go. So you are definitely hitting the 4th spot. You'll definitely hit the car, but you are able to make the turn. So there you guys have it. That's the turning circle. So you pretty much need 4 lanes. So 3 additional lanes wherever you are and 3 additional. So that covers that. All right, so cabin noise and everything still seems quiet. You know, I thought it might be different if the rain stops, but no, it's clearly pretty good. So let's summarize the entire drive, shall we? So, ergonomics. What's great about this car? I think steering wheel, seating, all fantastic. I'll give it like a 8 out of 10. I'm very comfortable. It's yeah, it just feels nice. And this is a really bumpy road, by the way, so I'll stay quiet. You can hear the noise. So on 20-inch wheels, we are quite comfortable driving through all of this. There's no issues whatsoever. It's handled all of it like a champion. So great job, Hyundai. Now, as I said, let's wrap it up. So driving wise, it's great. It's really comfortable. It absorbs all the bumps, even at 20-inch wheels. The dual motor's fantastic. You have a lot of traction. You've got confidence going around corners. The one thing about the driver's side that I don't think is too great is that I would have liked drive mode to also either stiffen up the chassis or at least the steering, whereas the drive modes really seem like all they're doing is changing the sensitivity of the accelerator pedal. The side mirrors, I'm not too much of a fan of. And the other thing that I don't really like about this car is probably that there is a lack of rear windscreen wiper. So it's raining at the moment. I can't really see through there. I can potentially do the camera to see the back, but again, there's a bit of rain that's on there as well. So hopefully you can see it through this camera up above. I can see more through there, but again, there's lots of raindrops and everything. I would have preferred just to have a wiper there. But, you know, I'm twisting this or trying to twist this knob over here. It's nothing at all. And what else? I think that's probably the only things I don't like. So let's go to the things I do like about this car. Alright guys, so let's wrap up the video with some things I like and some things I don't like about the car. What I like the steering wheel. It's absolutely fantastic. It feels really good. And I also really like the drive, and the seats are pretty good too. I like the drive from the perspective of it absorbs bumps like a champion. It does not feel like bumps hurt or anything like that. I drove through pretty rough road just then, and I'll make sure that we overlay it so you guys can see what that means. But you know, it just goes and it doesn't hurt. The bumps don't hurt. It just absorbs it, and it's amazing. So that's one thing I like. The other thing I like is the two-tone they've done pretty well. It just makes it look really nice. That's all there is to it. It just looks really nice. It's comfortable colors. It's not too bright. It's not too dull. It's just right. The other thing I love about this car is this up here. The roof, how it just opens and closes based on a button. Absolutely fantastic. And that just means you don't have to buy an aftermarket accessory to stick on top to remove, and it's just one button. So great job. Other thing I like about this car, external V2L, fantastic. I don't need it. I'm not a camper, but I just think it's great to be able to plug in the AC outlet and to do whatever you want. So that's great. I like this car's got ventilated seats. I know it's starting to become more common in other cars, but either way, most cars don't have it at the moment. So it's great to see that this car does have it. And I love the fact that the back seats have so much space. It really does feel like it's got heaps of space, more than even when I was in the EV6 and in our Model Y. So guys, if you are, and I can't comment on the GV60, we haven't driven that yet, hopefully sometime in the near future, but in terms of space, this car does feel like it's got so much space. It really feels really open, and even though it's a Model Y competitor, and I do have a Model Y myself, I do feel like from a space side that the Model Y is a bit more cramped in the back. So if you need a lot of space in the back, then absolutely this is something you guys can consider. And then the other thing I also like is just the shape of this car. It's a very unique shape, right? It reminds me of DeLorean. It's very futuristic. You've got all the pixelated lights at the front and the back. It's an attention-seeking car. Very subtle, but it is an attention-seeking car. You know, I've only had this for a couple of days, and when I'm driving around, you know, you can clearly see pedestrians and even people in cars, you know, doing the full head turn, going like, you know, what is that? So yeah, this car absolutely grabs attention. So I can only imagine how much attention the 5N would take. So who knows? Who knows? Are my feelings starting to sway towards that? I don't know. Never say never. Alright guys, so we're about to give the 0 to 100 kilometers sprint a go. So this is the IONIQ 5 Epiq. So it's the dual motor setup. I'll put the specs of the car in terms of power up here on the screen. So it's a dual motor, top spec just below for the normal variant, just below the Hyundai IONIQ 5N. So for the normal IONIQ 5s, this is essentially the top spec. We're at 96% battery at the moment. It's showing 392 kilometers. I didn't see anywhere to precondition the battery, but I am on iPedal, I am in sports mode, and we've got race box set up. So let's give it a go. All right, we'll just need to wait for traffic to clear up, and then we should be good to go. Fingers crossed. I haven't looked at the spec sheet to see how fast this is, so this will be a totally new surprise to me. All right, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so that was our first run. So basically, how did it feel? So I had my foot on the brake, had the accelerator on, let go of the brakes, and then I should have launched. Did it launch me as hard as the EV6 GT did, since it's a eGMP platform? No, it did not. What you have to remember though, this isn't supposed to be sold as a performance car at the end of the day. So in terms of 0 to 100, 5.42 seconds. I did untick the 1 foot rollout, so 5.42. So I'd say if you did include the subtraction, it should be probably somewhere around 5.12. It's still fairly quick, right? Like for a normal everyday car, it's still fairly quick. But if you're talking about performance EV, then you know this can't be in the same league. So there you guys have it. That's the first one, 5.42. I'll probably do another one run and we'll call it there. All right, so we're going to give it a second go. 95% state of charge at the moment. So let's have a look. All right, let's go. All right, so that was 5.56. Again, it still felt somewhat laggy in terms of the actual launch. So look, if you guys have any feedback on how to get a faster launch, at the end of the day, I know this is not a performance EV, but feel free to drop that in the comments below. So it seems like 5.4, 5.5 is what the race box says. And there you have it. That's the 0 to 100 time on that. So we'll jump through to the rest of the content in the videos. Oh, and I forgot to say, so basically I've sat in the car I've driven probably about 20 odd minutes or maybe half an hour. We've done 2 launches in sport mode at the moment, 94%, 382 kilometers left on range. All right, so let's have a look at all the dash menus, controls in the head unit and see what we've got. So if you guys are fairly familiar with Hyundai and Kia's systems. This will look no different to what they usually have. Key changes from what I've noticed in some of the other cars, you've got warmer ventilation settings over here, memory seating configurations, and that's about it. That looks different to everything else. So jumping into EV settings over here, automatically tells you where your closest ChargeFox charger or where your closest charger is. You've also got your EV transfer settings, so for V2L. You can set departure time. So it says here, set departure time before using scheduled charging and climate. So realistically, if you wanted to, you could click on this and you could set a departure time, and then it's going to ensure your car is ready to go. It's warm, it's defrosted, and so forth. So jumping back to this section over here, you've then got settings, which essentially is to do with charging limits. So DC, AC charging, charging current, battery conditioning, utility mode, which is to do with your V2L and using powering those devices. Smart recuperation, I've always had on strong deceleration, charging lock, and audible charging info. So this one's the one where you plug it in and it actually announces that the vehicle is now charging. So that covers all of the EV settings. Map, navigation, phone we won't go through. Phone projection is when you plug in your cable for Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. There is no wireless in this version. Climate controls is as per normal. The warmer ventilation, that's all your car settings for your seats. So you've got passenger cooling, heating, you've got your driver's cooling, heating, you've got the heated steering wheel over here, and then you've got the temperature here across the top for the car settings, and then you've got some climate settings for air circulation over here. Now this is all for the front climate. You also have rear warmer, so when you click on this over here, you'll see that the settings now go rear left and rear right, and that's heated only in the back. There is no cooling at the back. When you jump down over here, you can also see all your climate settings over here as well. So you can see the temperature, the speed that the aircon or the fans are on. That's for the passenger. This one here is for the driver. Clicking warmer essentially brings you from the menu straight through to the seat settings, and then clicking climate, which is down here, the button above, that takes you through just the aircon settings for the car itself. So that's basically it. The fans are over here, as I said, and the temp is over here. It is a bit distracting, I found, when you're trying to look at how, what speed level or what fan levels you're on, because there is no display over here. It's all just down over here in the corner. So anyways, let's jump back through to the menu settings. So climate and warm ventilations we've gone through. We'll have a look at memory seat configurations. So there you go. It looks like you can actually move everything around, and it is all electronic. So this essentially allows you to move everything, which is really cool, all through here, and you can actually save all of these settings as you need. So I think it's pretty cool. I think you can have automated settings for example, for when you want to say when you need to pack a lot of things in the back and you need to move all the seats forward, you could save that as a setting. You could push the seats back as far as you want, just to ensure that you've got most space if you're not taking heavy things and so forth. And it's just handy to be able to move things around. Just take note though that the settings, the electronic settings at the back or the second row is only available in this top spec Epiq trim. So not in all of them. And that pretty much takes us through the entire menu. And here on screen, we've essentially just got your standard menus from the steering wheels. So this goes through the drive information. As we scroll through the buttons, you can see after recharging, accumulated info, drive information. We can switch pages, which goes to the compass or the GPS. You've got tire pressure monitoring. And then this, I believe, is for your highway driving assist or when you're on cruise control. Allows you to see some of the settings there. And then, yeah, you've got your music controls, which doesn't show up here. And that essentially takes you through everything here on the menu. All right, so let's talk about a couple of things that I don't like and I like about this car as, I guess, a quick summary. So one thing I don't like, which I've mentioned earlier on, is the ride and handling and the suspension. So I did wish, and again, this is purely from a car enthusiast point of view, I do wish that we do have the options, I guess, of tweaking some of that suspension just so that it feels, I guess, a bit more connected. But again, as an everyday driver, you know, it's perfectly fine. So that's just my own opinion. I wish there was, and to that point, I also wish that there was a bit more steering feedback. And again, comes back to that connectedness one-to-one with the vehicle. That's one bit. This car seems like it is on the thirstier side, based on how I've been driving it over the past week. But average is, as I said, about 19.3 to 19.4 kilowatt hours, which somewhat also seems okay for a car of this size. So it's just something to consider. And I guess my comparison, I've also kind of pitched this against the Kia EV9, which was about 21 kilowatt hours per 100 Ks. And that was a much bigger car. So I guess that's the rationale behind that comment in particular. And the other one thing was I couldn't find anywhere in the settings around an app. So whilst this car is great, there is no specific app. So if you're setting things like you want to check your charge, you want to set preconditioning, those things you need to be physically in the car to actually set up. And there is nothing where you could just open up the app, you could change the settings and then Bob's your uncle. So that's something to consider. You'll need to be at your car to change the settings. And maybe there's something that Hyundai is introducing in the future, but I couldn't find anything at all around an app link. And the last one is, this car is expensive, especially in this trim in particular, actually, I should say. So this is the Epiq trim. Drive away was about, how much? $98,000. So that is a lot of money. Now, if we're comparing it to the Model Y, there is a much bigger price difference there, but we'll touch on that in a moment. But as I said, this car is expensive, $98,000. So before on-road costs, I think it would be in the low 90s. So something to consider, right? I know that times are tough for a lot of people out there for our nation, and there's not much more to say than it's an expensive car. It's pretty much borderline six figures. The good side of things is all the IONIQs are now something that you can actually order through dealers. So it means these cars are now negotiable on pricing. So hopefully you guys can get something better. And I would hope to expect that there'd be more demos around or new cars around from a production side of things, so that when there is more supply, then obviously you are in a better position as a consumer to potentially negotiate a better price. So hopefully that comes for owners or potential owners out there. Some things I like. So I love the design, all the pixelated headlights and tail lights, absolute unique design. Now I don't know if it's because this car is in matte gravity gold, but this car, honestly, it's such an attention-seeking car. It's probably also because of the unique shape and probably maybe because of the side cameras, but that's something to take into consideration. You know, I've just been driving slow, I haven't been doing anything crazy. So many people are looking at the car. Other things I like about this car, I love the rear space based on the shape. It just feels like it's such an open lounge type vehicle. And it just means that when you are sitting in there, it's like you're walking into a hotel or a building that has really high ceilings. That's probably the best analogy that I can give you guys. You kind of walk in and you're like, wow, it's got a lot of space. So that's that. Seat comfort in the back, I think, is pretty good. It's not soft, it's not hard, so I feel like it's a good balance. And the other thing I really like about this car is V2L. Now, I know I didn't show you guys anything in particular because it's a PowerPoint here, really. But there's endless possibilities of what you guys can do with V2L. All of the variations, I think off the top of my head, or at least the mid and the top spec, they have internal V2L. External V2L is only in the Epiq trim, which is this one here. You know, camping, charging while you're say on holidays or on a road trip. You can power everything as you need to. Yeah, it's just something great to make use of the big battery so you can continue being powered and continue going on and doing whatever you guys need to. So I feel like that's something that I think they've done really well. And of course in this trim also, heads-up display. Love a good heads-up display. Keeps you focused on the road. But some of the other stuff that I've mentioned before around aircon stuff that kind of needs you to focus down here kind of counterbalances that. But either way, I feel like heads-up display is pretty good. Now, the one last thing I want to cover off is when you're looking at buying this car, what else are you going to look at? So obviously we've covered off the EV6 before. You also do need to pitch this up, or it's supposed to be a comparison against a GV60, a Genesis GV60. So we'll cover that off sometime in the future. And then of course, the Model Y, the Tesla Model Y. So as a Tesla Model Y owner, I'm going to give you guys my honest views on what you guys need to consider or take into consideration if you are going to buy this car, and you're also obviously considering a Tesla Model Y. And I've written a couple of points here on my phone, so I'm just going to read them off. Now, to match against this model, I think you could actually consider the mid-spec trim on the IONIQ 5, because realistically, the mirrors were an option. The roof, the auto closing roof, or in terms of the shade, the Tesla doesn't have one, so you could consider that. And then a lot of the other specs, I guess, are fairly similar. So some of the key things to consider, right? So in terms of trim, so the dynamic spec, which is the mid-spec for the IONIQ 5, is about $83,000 before on-road costs, which means it's about $87,000, $88,000 off the top of my head, or maybe about $90,000 drive away. The long range is about $69,900, so say about $70,000. So you're talking about, if we're talking about before on-road costs, you're pretty much looking at $70,000 versus $83,000, which is about $13,000 variance. That's point number one. Just remember though, Tesla has no negotiation on pricing. However, sometimes you can find in the inventory a bit of a discounted price there. So yeah. And then for the IONIQ 5s, as I said earlier on, you can now get them through dealers, and I guess it would hopefully put you in a better position to negotiate a price. So there's that. Tesla Model Y, from what I've seen, and I know some BMWs have started to do it now, but there is no phone key at all on this car. So you can't just not have a key. You need to physically hold a key if you want to drive the car. I've mentioned this before in my videos about the Model Y. I absolutely love the fact I don't have to take keys around. So it's something for you guys to take into consideration, that if you don't want to carry keys, or you basically want to be able to drive with your phone, that's something you need to take into consideration. There is also the fantastic app on the Tesla, which I've covered before. There's so many things you can do. This car does not have an app, so again, not the end of the world. It's just something for you guys to think about, whether and put, I guess, on a chart or whatever you want to call it, categorize it around how important is that to you as a consumer. Charging network. Now I know Tesla has opened up their charging network to, or a lot of it, or they're still continuing to open it up to non-Tesla vehicles. And the reason why I say Tesla network in particular is because if you own a Tesla car, when you are using the navigation, it automatically plans everything. It tells you how busy the chargers are and everything. And until there's that full integration with other things like PlugShare or ABRP, a better route planner, then that's obviously something that's different. And I know Tesla, at the same time, Tesla is not the only charging network. There's ChargeFox as well, which is massive. There's EV, and there's a couple of other ones there too. So it's just something to take into consideration. What I can say based on what I've read, and I don't have any statistics that I can just pull off the top of my head, but from what I've read and I recall reading, is that Tesla has the least downtime, or one of the lowest downtimes of any charging network, and is quite reliable. So yeah, again, that's just something to consider. And the last one is, if there are any issues, how do you want to deal with it? With Tesla, I know you lodge everything through the app. You can talk to them through the app. You can send pictures. You can organize appointments, everything through the app. Whereas Hyundai is more of the traditional dealership type model, where you'd have to contact them to organize whatever it is you want to organize. Again, something to consider. Is it the end of the world? I'll let you guys be the judge of that. And so I think that wraps up everything I needed to cover for the video. If you guys have tuned in for the entire video, thank you so much for your support. I hope this video helped. If it did help you, give it a like. Consider subscribing for more content. It does help the channel go a very, very long way. We've got plenty of content coming up for you guys. And yeah, hope you guys are well. And we'll see you soon in the next one.